Okay, so welcome back. This is a very long episode. I think we have covered a lot of topics, and because Manipur is very sensitive and it requires a lot of approach from various angles, and we need to cover all of it. Otherwise, we'll be accused as being another propaganda machine or something like that. Anyway, they already accuse us of that. We don't care. But the point is, we try to be as factual as we can so that at least our audience who are here looking for the truth or the information, the truth as we see it, so at least they get that. We don't need to cater to all those fear mongering or hate driven valley narrative. We don't care about that. But anyway, for our people who are concerned about the situation in Manipur, especially, uh, so so far we have discussed the recent escalation in violence. Then we have discussed the role of the recent escalation in violence covered the Chonglaubi incidents, the killing of the two cookies, the two tankos, and also the protests after that, and which is still currently ongoing. And then the role of the central government, what the central government has done so far in Manipur, and what it continues to do. We have discussed that. We also discussed the role of central forces, whether they are partial, impartial, whether any allegation or whatever the allegation of the Meiteis are true in any way, or I mean, is there even a small amount of truth to it, which we have already uncovered or which we have discussed in detail, and we have made it clear that there is no such thing as the partisan central forces. In fact, central forces are more like keen to be careful with Meiteis when it comes to dealing with Meiteis, because politically Meiteis are very influential, so they are scared of them. When it comes to cookies, they tend to be very harsh instead of being lenient. This is my observation. I could also be wrong, but this is what I have observed and I have seen. I'm not saying that they are bad or in any way. I will also not say that they are in favor of cookies either, because they are there. They do their job, which is to save life, protect lives, and like defend innocent lives. So, if you have a problem with that, then I don't know what kind of a human you are. So we have discussed that. Now we also discussed census, the 2026 census, which is actually already in progress in many states, and which could be implemented in Manipur very shortly. So what I want to know is, you have already explained what a census is. I mean, our viewers can go back and check that previous video to understand what a census is. You can skip back and listen to the recordings, what a census is, and why we should actually support a census. I mean, the professor here is of the opinion that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So, you are of the opinion that we should be supporting the census exercise, and we should actually submit factual information to the enumerators. We should not be making up numbers or inflating or deflating in any way, but we should be doing our best to ensure that as many the census records the accurate information. We should never play with numbers or try to play with those numbers, because then it can be challenged, and it will lead to like the results being nullified, and then the delimitation being postponed again or something like that, right?
Yes.
So in any way, lying on the census is actually not helpful at all for anyone, be it for the government or for the citizens themselves.
Yes.
Okay, so now uh, we have, I mean, covered pretty much uh, uh, whatever we think is necessary so far in our discussion. But then now, what is the solution to all of this conflict that is there in Manipur? You have three major ethnic groups in Manipur, and none of them are comfortable with each other. Meiteis don't like both the hill communities, where the cookies and the Nagas, both they don't like. But anyways, they hate the cookies more in this case. And the cookies also have, they used to like Meiteis, but now after May 3, they can't like Meiteis anymore. So they also have problems with the Nagas and Meiteis. And the Nagas also have issues with Meiteis and cookies. With cookies, it's mostly the land issues, like in terms of overlapping boundaries or something. I don't know what exactly is the issue also, because I did not pay much attention to it. It's not that important. It's just if you are willing or to resolve it, I believe the issues between the Kukis and the Nagas, that especially with the Tangkuls or Zeliangs or whoever they are, if we have the intention of resolving it, then I'm sure we can discuss it or across the table and discuss it. It's not that like, political like subjugation or something like that. So, what do you think is the solution in the context of Manipur? I mean, you can take your time. You don't have to make it simple. You can explain all the various nuances of the problem, and we can approach at it.
Okay, then that's a big question, and a very challenging one. I'll do my
Yeah,
best to explain the pressures from various sides. Now, we haven't discussed in much detail about the pressures from the Naga side, and that's, I mean, as far as I have read, the Naga problem is a bit simple in that Nagas, at least in the 1950s and 60s, decided that they wanted Naga Lim, a Naga nation, which, whatever form it might take, was supposed to cover all Naga inhabited areas, at least in India, and possibly in Myanmar as well. Right? So all of these areas together were supposed to become Naga Lim. Now, the problem in Manipur was that there were a lot of Kukis living in the areas that Nagas believed should have been part of Nagalim. So all those three districts, Tamenglong, Senapati, and Ukhrul, they had Kukis living in them. And there's still Kukis living in them. And therefore, Nagas tried to, and also Chandel, right? So, I mean, it used to be called Tangnopal for some time and Chandel for some time, and now there is a Tangnopal district and this
yeah,
Chandel district. But Nagas believed that they wanted that also. So Nagas are willing to concede Churachandpur and Farzol districts only to Kukis, and all the others they believe belong to them. So their tactics, according to scholars, were number one, to convert the Kuki tribes living there into Nagas. Now that is possible because Naga is not an ethnic group, unlike Kuki. Kuki is an ethnic group. But Naga is really a geographical, regional kind of
a
identity.
political identity.
Now it is a political identity, but during British times it was a regional, geographical identity.
Okay.
And so Tangkuls belong to one family, Zelianggrongs belong to one family, and Maumaram and Sema belonged to another family. There was nothing much in common between them, other than the fact that they lived close to each other and therefore they might have borrowed practices and some language elements, right? On the other hand, Kukis descend from one source. So there was originally one Kuki community, which then over time grew, split up into many subfamilies. So it was possible, since Naga is not an ethnic identity, it was possible for them to convert some of the smaller Kuki tribes, especially the old Kuki tribes, and convert them into Naga. So that's how they started laying claim to the Chandel district, because Chandel district had many of these small old Kuki tribes and Marings who are kind of a bridge community, they say, between Kuki and Naga. So they have mixture of Kuki and Naga practices. And so that was one way of trying to lay claim to territory. And the other way of laying claim to territory is to evict the Kukis living among them. And this second tactic was applied to the Thado Kuki communities. It was applied first in the 1960s, and then Kukis became part of the, Mizo nationalist movement, and therefore they acquired military strength. And then after the Mizo Accord, then they lost that military strength, and therefore it happened again in the 1990s.
Yeah.
So as a result, the Tamenglong and Ukhrul Kukis have to a large extent moved towards the center of the state, now populating the periphery of the valley. So that is the Kangpokpi district. But Nagas have never gotten reconciled to the idea that Kangpokpi district has now become basically a Kuki district.
Yeah, Kuki
So,
district.
so they still claim that it is their ancestral land and they will not accept Kangpokpi becoming anything other than Naga area, right? So the Naga problem is that they want, well-defined Naga areas which they can control, and Kukis living in that area presents a problem to them. But that doesn't have to be anymore because there are only small numbers of Kukis living among them. So other than the fact that there are a few, communal pushes, there is no reason for conflict between Kukis and Nagas now. Right?
Yeah.
But in Litan area, I mentioned there have been historical disputes and historical friction, so that may still be playing out.
No, but you also have
But
people like Asang Kasar, the Tangkul guy who goes around preaching hate.
okay, so Nagas have initiated this entire rhetoric that Kukis are illegal immigrants from Myanmar. So I didn't know that. I didn't know until I talked to Professor Jangkomang Gaite, who has been involved with Manipur problems for a long time. So he told me that all this rhetoric that we now hear from Meiteis was originally from the Nagas.
NSC and IM, to be precise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Zeliangrong, there is also Zeliangrong United Front. They also, spew the same rhetoric.
No, but then they are a splinter group of NSCN anyways. ZUF is a splinter. The parent organization is still NSCN, NSCN IM or whatever NSCN it may be. It is still goes back to the NSCN group.
Yeah. But the current point of tension for them is that if Kukis reach a settlement, then they will be left behind and they don't know what to do about it. So that is currently the issue there. Now, regarding Meiteis versus Kukis, it is my view that Meiteis are full of prejudice against tribals. And that was recorded very, candidly by the British. And the British said that Meiteis tribals will never get a decent administration from the Meiteis. Sorry, tribals will never get decent administration from the Meiteis. And therefore, there was no option but for the British to administer the tribals directly. So the British deliberately blocked Meiteis from governing the hills. This was written by the governor of Assam, who also had tribals within Assam. And in Assam, they did not block Assamese from governing the hills. So this was a special problem for Manipur, which the Assam governor has documented, right? So, and have things changed since then? There might have been a little bit of change, in the years immediately after independence, because Hijam Irabot made a lot of effort to integrate the tribals into the Meitei polity. But unfortunately, he had to quit. Some of his ideology might have played some role initially, at least in the party that we now call Congress.
Wasn't he a communist?
Yeah, but the party that became Congress is what he had originally founded, Nikhil Manipuri Mahasabha.
Okay,
so Nikhil Manipuri Mahasabha became Manipur State Congress, and then it became Indian National Congress.
Okay.
But by then, Irabot got more radicalized and became a communist.
Okay, okay.
Um, but his influence was there to some extent, but I think that is now evaporated. And under the current regime, under the influence of BJP and the Maharaja and Biren Singh, they have become, much more prejudiced than they have ever been. And so whether they will ever, get out of that, I'm not confident. Now, as long as that situation persists, there is no way any tribals will get a just treatment from them. And that's what we see playing out day in and day out. That's why cookies keep getting called illegal immigrants, poppy cultivators, drug addicts, narco terrorists, and so on and so forth. So these are all proxies, right? So this is another way of saying how to, right?
Yeah.
Since that is not an acceptable jargon anymore, you invent all these other things which carry the same meaning for them.
Yeah. And also
Um,
a way of justifying their hatred, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, initially, the NSCN-IM agenda was also the same. By calling us refugees and illegals, I mean, they were basically giving a license to themselves to kill us. I mean, when
yes,
they displaced, they kill like thousands of our people and displaced hundreds of villages, and like burned hundreds of villages. And when they are confronted with the question, why are you doing this? Then the only way they could save their ass was, okay, I mean, we are doing it because these people came from somewhere and forcefully occupied our land. We are protecting ourselves. We are just saving ourselves, something like that. That was the NSCNIM trick, which actually I would say worked in their favor for quite some time, and only it took the cookies a lot of time to dismantle that propaganda, but eventually I believe it was dismantled, and which is also why the Muiva's refugee application to the UN and all those was also rejected. One of the reasons was his crimes of, committing war crimes on cookies and all these other crimes combined. So anyway, we are deviating slightly away, but it is a good excuse, I would say, right? You would say, right? I mean, that calling someone illegal or refugee, or so that you will deny them the political rights that they deserve, the rights that they deserve, the resources that is meant for them. You take away their rights, and you just justify it by saying, okay, they don't deserve any rights. They are not people from this country. Why should you give them rights? That is correct, right? I mean,
yeah.
so how do we how do we fight this back in a way, like, I'm not saying we should ignore it. I don't think ignoring it is a solution, but how should we fight back? I mean, for us, we see that this behavior is not going to change. Their attitudes are not going to change. They are, and it's going to take a lot of time for them to finally see us as their equals or fellow humans. So for us, we don't want to wait that long. We don't want to continue suffer, and so we have demanded that we be administered separately. How wrong or how right is that?
Well, you are absolutely right, but administering separately has many, many, many meanings, right? So let us think of some of them. So there have been these things called autonomous district councils
Which
in
doesn't work.
Manipur, right? So which have not been very effective. And you have asked for sixth schedule probably 20 years ago.
Which will never be granted.
It will never be granted, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see why not.
Well, the BJP has made it
Um,
very clear that they're not gonna extend the current, what you call, whatever area the sixth schedule currently applies. They're not gonna extend it.
I haven't seen anything of that kind.
It is their policy, the BJP's policy.
The state BJP or the central
The
BJP?
central BJP, they have made it very clear that they are not gonna extend sixth schedule outside of the current areas. Made it very clear. Now, an exemption can be made if the Manipur government demands that they be brought under sixth schedule. Then yes, then the government will do it. But the state government opposing and central government imposing, no, that's not going to happen.
Well, but I would still like to put sixth schedule as a solution on the table. Okay.
It is a good solution if we can get it.
Are you sure it's a good solution? I don't know. I haven't understood
I
sixth
mean,
schedule well enough.
it's not enough, but it's something. It's not everything that we want, but it's something. At least something.
Right. So that is one solution, but we have discussed that in various groups earlier. But the objection that was raised against it is that it does not guarantee security for cookies.
Yes.
And I also don't fully, I mean, given that I don't understand how sixth schedule works normally, but I still believe that all the services will be conducted as single departments across the state. Right? So take electricity or water supply or roads and buildings, etc., etc. It is not going to be divided into separate departments, one for the Kuki area, one for the Naga area, one for the Meitei area. It will still be one for Manipur. And all those officials and engineers, etc., they will be reporting to one central authority in Imphal. So even under sixth schedule, your administration is still going to be run from Imphal.
Yeah.
The services will be administered still from Imphal.
Yeah, and also they will have this ability to, uh, delay releasing the some of the funds or all those. I mean, they can still play. Metis will always play games. Yeah, I mean, they know how to play these games.
Okay. But more importantly, police will be administered from Imphal.
Yes.
And the deputy commissioners, etc., will be reporting to Imphal as well. And so I'm not confident that sixth schedule is enough of a solution unless there is perfect goodwill on the part of Meiteis to give you your due. It's not going to function effectively. That is my view. I mean, as I said, I haven't studied sixth schedule in great detail, but currently, I don't know if Bodoland is under sixth schedule. I suppose it is.
It is.
But wherever there is sixth schedule, it works because there is goodwill in the state administration to give, a just treatment to those areas.
Yes.
In the case of Manipur, I don't think that will be there. And therefore, something more radical is needed, more radical than sixth schedule. And of course, a complete separation such as union territory is, the ultimate extreme solution. But whether there is something in between sixth schedule and a separate union territory, that's something that the central government bureaucrats and planners will have to explore. Right? I'm not a public policy expert, so I can't come up with what is feasible and what is workable, etc. Right? But we have Pauline Lal, who is a public policy expert, and there might be other cookies also who know these issues well, right? So we'll need to consult them and work with them. But for all of these solutions, the problem is going to be that Meiteis will oppose.
And Nagas
the
also
central
to an
government.
extent.
Sorry?
And Nagas
And
as
Nagas
well.
also?
Yes.
Well, if the center tells the Nagas that we will give you the same deal as we give you the Meiteis, as we give to the cookies, right?
No,
then other than the fact that they still have these irredentist claims to Kangpopi district, right? Other than the fact that they have these geographical claims, if they get the same deal as the cookies get, then there's no reason for them to oppose that.
No, but then why do you think they will want the same deal that we get? They want Nagalim, they want a flag, they want a constitution, they want so many fancy things. They will not be satisfied with a mere UT or anything like that. Do you think they'll be
Yeah,
satisfied?
but there is no reason to oppose the deal for the cookies. If they get a similar deal, there's no reason for them to
No, but why do you think the
oppose the
government
deal
of
for
India will
cookies.
offer them a similar deal? Government may say that
It's
okay,
the logical thing to do.
no, but then first of all, for the government, the people who are persecuted right now and problem right now and who needs most maximum attention and who needs to the problem that has to be resolved is our problem. They have a framework agreement with the Nagas anyways, so that negotiation takes place parallelly. I mean, whatever it is, we don't have any such framework agreement with the government. We only have what a Sioux agreement, which says that territorial integrity of Manipur will be preserved. Number two, a negotiated political settlement in a time-bound manner. And now we can debate over what the definition of time-bound means. But it can, I mean, in politics, it can mean 20 years or 2 months, 2 weeks. It all depends. And so, why should, I mean, why should the government not pay more attention to us, or why should the government not like be more concerned with us? After all, we are the community that has been driven out of Imphal. We are a community of lost assets in terms of, like thousands of crores. We don't live in Imphal anymore. We are a community who has been restricted from accessing our capital, not having to go to all these neighboring states even for basic treatment, ultrasound, and all those things. Imagine that. For 3 years, that community has suffered all these things. So, why
Okay,
can't.
so I mean, we're playing too many players at the same time. Okay, so you're playing the cookie side, which is perfectly fine, right? So as a cookie, you make your demands. Now, when we're talking about the solution, we need to talk about all the three communities and the center, which is the power that is
Meiteis
that
have a
has the
state
authority
already
to
with an
grant any
assembly.
demands.
Meiteis have a state that they control, an assembly that they dominate, control over budgets, control over every single thing, every single aspect of life in Manipur. They have control over. What more can they need apart from like outright independence, which they will anyways not achieve? And even if they do achieve, they're gonna be a landlocked country with no surrounded by India or cookies on all sides. Anyways, so apart from that, what can they get? What do they want? More money or more MLS seats or
No, my test want total control over the entire Manipur state.
yeah, which is not going to happen anyways. After 3 years of violence, it's already clear that that's not going to happen. So
Yeah, but they still have that as an emotional, attachment,
yeah, emotional. They should have been more
and they will
careful.
complain, about any other any solution that impinges on that.
They should have been more careful before turning out to be fascists and all. Before kicking cookies out of Imphal, if they wanted full control over the state, they should have behaved better. I mean, you can't misbehave and also expect people to treat you with decency. Yeah, come on. You have to pay the price. Everything has a price. You misbehave, you have to pay the price for it. You killed people, you have to pay the price. You have to, you know, you have to be what? You have to surrender your criminals, your rapists, and serve. I mean, get round them all up. Could be like 50, 60,000 Meiteis involved in all of this systemic violence. Okay, you arrest all of them, put them behind bars, give a fair trial. Fine, cookies will stop demanding whatever separate administration we are demanding right now. Can they do that? Will their politicians be willing to do that?
Okay, everything that you have said so far is your view, the cookie view of what has happened. But the Meitei view is very different. Meiteis will think that they are the victims, right? Meiteis will think that they have suffered more, they have been displaced more, they have been killed more, and they have been attacked more than the Kukis.
And do you think people buy that? Anyone's buy that?
No, when you have a center which is trying to balance every side's interest, the fact that Meiteis have these beliefs of the reality will will drive them towards making certain demands, and then the demands will get reflected like the way they have been in the last 1 week.
No, I mean, you can't help if they keep feeding lies to each other, and if they keep lying to their own people, and you know,
They don't even know what is a lie and what is not.
very well, that's not my problem anyway. So let's
No. Okay, so I mean we're talking about solution, right? So let's not get into validating or invalidating the Meitei viewpoint, but the Meitei viewpoint exists, and I believe the center will have to take that into account as well in order to grant anything. So
yeah.
the center will want to find some intermediate, some medium point which can make both the sides equally happy or equally unhappy.
Equally unhappy, most likely.
Yes. It's
Never.
always half empty glass, right?
It's always equally unhappy.
Um, but this is why I've been telling cookies all these while that the facts are not known, and cookies are not talking enough. They're not communicating enough, not publishing enough. They're not influencing the media enough, and therefore the truth is not known. And so, saying these are the facts, is not enough, because these facts are not public facts. They're your facts. They've not been accepted by everybody.
Okay, so to conclude, what do you think, in your view, that the facts are, and what should we, I mean, what should the cookie public or cookie leadership focus more on in the next coming days and months?
Well, there isn't a single cookie leadership. The cookie leadership that has the power to do anything about this are the Sioux groups.
No, they are the only, no. So there's various layers of, or how do I, compartments of leadership, right? So as far as the political negotiations are concerned, but then you have also the MLS and the politicians on the ground who are involved with the day-to-day running of the affairs of the people, and who are accountable for those things. You can't hold Sioux accountable for stuff that they are not responsible for.
No, the Sioux groups are the only ones empowered towards finding a solution, towards finding a political solution. The
Okay.
MLAs are not, Cookies or Council is not. They're only there to do their respective responsibilities, which are,
To look nice.
we know, right?
Sit quietly and look nice.
And um, so, and the Sioux groups, the negotiators know everything that I have said, right? And I'm sure they're, using whatever methods they have to convince the center about all the things that we have talked about.
Mm.
And if you don't think that is true, then we can have a discussion with them. You can have a discussion with them
Yeah.
and make sure that they understand. I'm sure they understand. Okay, I have no doubt about it. Um, and so that's what the leadership has to do. And the cookies or council certainly will have to keep feeding, the feelings and opinions of the public at large to these negotiators so that they can present them to the government. And the MLAs, I think, are too fractured at the moment to be able to do anything.
Why not? They are still uh, democratically elected representatives. They still have the mandate of the people. They still should have the ability to do something. I mean, you say that they anyways like to escape. You say that, and then they will not even bother looking at us. Or
Well, 3 MLAs have joined the government and they have been excommunicated by the Cookies Council. And 4 other MLAs, I believe, have attended the Legislative Assembly sessions. They have not
online.
boycotted it, right? And so that's what I mean. They're fractured. There's no, there's no unified voice of the MLAs anymore. And as a result, their effectiveness is vastly reduced.
So
So
considering the leadership is fractured and considering all these other complications, do you think the government could use this as an excuse or uh, as one of the reasons to delay settlement with us?
yes, certainly, they have already delayed it.
Okay. So basically, it all comes down to our foolishness.
Yes.
Very well. Point noted. I hope.
Anyway, but it's not. The game is not lost,
Yeah.
and therefore, everybody should do, what they have set out to do. So MLAs are fractured and they're now out of the picture. But the other two components, the Cookies Council and the Sioux groups, they're functioning and they're on track. They may not be, ideal. I mean, they may not be working, as ideal a fashion as you might expect, but they're certainly on track. So that's what needs to continue, and it should be improved if possible.
Okay.
But the biggest shortcoming, and which will continue to be a shortcoming, is communication, right? So you need to improve your communication with the public at large and with the government and with the intellectuals and with international opinion. There are many sympathizers, around the world who don't know enough about what is happening either. So those are the things that you can do at the moment to improve.
So very well. It was a good discussion that we had. We'll continue in the coming days and weeks with all these kinds of discussions, and we'll have more guests as well. So thank you very much, Professor, for joining us today, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Yes, thank you very much.